Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to week 2. Hope everyone's having a good week. This video is actually being recorded on Saturday, January the 17th, which means your due date doesn't come up for another day. But I believe everybody's doing well, and I hope you're enjoying the class. I should also mention that this video is being shared with the students in Mike Cooney's online English 111 class, so we welcome those folks as well. Let's take a look at what we're going to be doing for session 2. First thing we'll do is go to class sessions and take a look at the folder for session 2. Just like last week, there's a session overview, the content that you'll be covering. I'm not going to read this to you, you can read yourself. The list of the learning activities, and then the list of assignments and assessments. So let's take a look at the learning activities first. There are 3 chapters to read: 10 core concepts in action, Chapter 19, working with ideas and information, and Chapter 23, using source material. Don't you like how this textbook tends to jump around? There are also some core readings. There's a PowerPoint on plagiarism. A PowerPoint on describing, summarizing, and responding, and also some information on plagiarism. There is a plagiarism quiz in this session, and a PowerPoint that accompanies it, and then some supplemental resources which you can see listed here. There are only 3 assignments, one of which you've already started for this session, and that is the discussion board about your writing process. There's a plagiarism quiz, and then a first draft of your initial writing project. So let's take a look at where these resources are located. Oddly enough, they're under the Resources tab. We'll go to that, and of course, there's the textbook and the 10 core concepts listed. Also, core readings are listed here. You'll need these in just a minute, and also writing projects. If you're not familiar with the MLA format, I'm going to cover that a little bit in this video, but there's also additional resources listed here as well, and plagiarism resources, which you'll also be looking at for this session. Before we go back to what you're going to be doing, let's go ahead and open up the writing projects. And this is for Summary and Response Writing Project 1. You can ignore the rest of these, don't need those now. And we'll go ahead and open Summary and Response. This is what you're going to be working on this week. Your writing project for this week will not complete this assignment, but it's going to get you started. Let's open that. And here you go. It's only 2 pages, but I think this is pretty well done and explains how you began this project. You're going to summarize and respond to one of the core readings that I have selected, and I'll show you where those are in just a minute. The key thing to remember is you're going to describe the core reading, summarize the core reading. In other words, just kind of give me a simple recitation of what the textbook says to you, and then you're going to respond to it. Give it your own thoughts. For this first draft, and this is just a draft, it's not a final assignment, don't get too stressed about it, it's 600 words. If you think about this, the initial post that you put into the discussion board was 200 words, so you're going to multiply what you did in the first discussion board by 3. Most of you wrote about 2 paragraphs, so you can think of this as 4 more paragraphs than that. I like to see in a paragraph in academic writing a paragraph that should be a minimum of 5 sentences. If it's 2 or 3 sentences, it's simply too short. If your paragraph is 20 sentences, you might want to think about breaking it up. It's probably a little too long, at least for this type of assignment. Now, it's conceivable that in your final assignment you might have paragraphs that are much longer than that, but that's for a later time. This is just a first draft that you're writing, and we're going to be using MLA style. I'll talk about that in just a few moments. For this first draft, we're going to be following steps 1 through 6, and that's about it. When we get to the next session, then we'll be talking about feedback and peer review and revising and strengthening it and making it correct. But that's for session 3. For now, I just want you to concern yourself with steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. It's a real good idea to print this out. You're going to be referring to it a lot, and it's difficult to switch back and forth between screens, so just go ahead and print it. We'll go back to our class session, to session 2. And look at what else we'll be doing. Session 1 and Session 2, what is your writing process like? This is the discussion board that many of you have already completed. You did your initial draft of what your writing resource looks like. We'll take a look at that. There's introductions. I enjoyed reading this, by the way. Feel like I got to know you better. And we'll take a look at this one, Session 1 and Session 2. Which picture is your writing process like? Only 6 students have put in a post so far. I'm not concerned about that because it's not actually due until tomorrow night, and I'm sure everybody will get caught up by then. For this session, once everyone has posted their initial image, you're going to pick 2 of them, a minimum of 2, and you're going to respond. At random, I just picked Amy's, and after I've read it, I'm going to hit reply, and I'm going to say something in response to what Amy has written. I'm going to write about 100 words. I'm going to comment on the picture that she's chosen. I might offer Amy an alternative interpretation of the image that she chose, the tornado or the fireworks. And I might say a few words about what it means to me. I might say a few words about what she said it meant to her, etc. And again, you're going to choose 2 of these. We'll take a look at the offering of one other student. And let's take a look and see what Mike had to say. After I've finished reading what Mike has had to offer, again, I'll make about a 100-word comment on what he said. As you look through these, of course you can look at the ones that are most interesting to you, but if you see someone that doesn't have any comments associated with theirs, you might want to take a look at that. That way everybody gets some feedback. Let's be democratic about this. We'll go back to Summary 2. Session 2, excuse me. The commenting that I just showed you, that's your first assignment. Now we're going to look at the plagiarism exercise. It's under Assignments and Assessments. For this, you're going to review chapters 19 and 23 in the text, the plagiarism policies in the syllabus, and the plagiarism resources in the class session. Once you review those, you're simply going to click on this, and you're going to take a short quiz. Not too hard. If you read the material, you're going to do just fine on this. Notice, this test allows multiple attempts. If you take it the first time, and maybe you don't get everything exactly right, go ahead and take it again. Why not? Everyone should get a perfect score on this. We're still under the Assignments and Assessments tab of Session 2. And now we're going to go to the first draft of the writing project. This is where you'll find it. Before we get to this, I need to show you what you're going to be summarizing and responding to, and that's under the Resources tab. There's the textbook, and here are the core readings, and this is what you're going to need. In the core reading, there are several folders. I haven't counted, but there's 7. And if you open up any one folder, there's a variety of articles here. And there's even a couple of videos. You could watch the video if you'd like. Notice this video is 19 minutes long. Shoot, you could probably read one of these in less time than it would take you to watch the video, but that's your choice. Also, if you want to quote something that you read, which I'm encouraging you to do, it's kind of hard to quote a video even though it has captions. It might be easier just to take one of these, but it's your choice. Sherman Alexie happens to be one of my favorite authors, so I'm going to open that one. I like Sherman Alexie because he's funny. He's a Native American writer, poet, filmmaker, and this is one of the essays he wrote about his experience attending both a school on an Indian reservation, and later when he was in high school, he went to an all-white school in Washington State. And as you can see, he's broken this up by grade, comparing his experiences. Again, a very funny guy. I'm not saying you have to read that one. I'm saying if you want to laugh, you might enjoy that one. But you're welcome to pick anything that you want. The instructions say to skim through all of these. I think that's probably asking a little too much. If I were you, I would simply click on the folder, take a look at the titles, maybe skim through it. This one's pretty long. Perhaps not reading it in depth, but skimming through it, finding one you like. Once you've picked one that resonates with you, interests you, captures your attention, you can probably stop there because you only have to write about one of them. We'll go back to class sessions. And take a look at where you're going to put this. This is submission 1. Scroll down. I'm encouraging you to write, of course, in Word, and save it somewhere where you can easily find it, whether it's on your desktop or on a flash drive, doesn't matter. Once you've completed and saved what you've written, all 600 words in your draft, select Browse My Computer. Now I already have on my computer that I'm using to record this an old essay I wrote for a class I took last semester. This one here. And I'm going to open it. Now it's attached. I could make some comments, such as once you've written your comments, click on Submit. I'm not going to do that now because I don't want to upload this, but that's the steps that you'll be following. By the way, I've gotten, of course, several emails from everyone regarding the test run, and some of you have been very polite in calling me Mr. Stenger or Dear Instructor. I'm pretty casual. I'm comfortable with everybody just calling me Mark. So when you're writing, texting, tweeting at me, just go ahead and refer to me by my first name. The students in Mike Cooney's class, he might have a different policy. You'll have to ask him. back to session 2. Let's recap. You're going to go to the discussion board and look at the entries by 2 other students and respond to them. You're going to complete the plagiarism exercise, which is the quiz, with multiple attempts. And then you're going to draft 600 words about your summary and response of one of the articles that you found. Now I want to say a few words about MLA. In this class, we'll only be using MLA. Some of you may be more familiar with APA, and APA is fine. But for the humanities and English, MLA is the preferred format. Again, this is a paper I wrote, as you can see, in December 2015. A couple things I want to point out if you're not familiar with MLA. First of all, each page begins with your last name and then the page number. And that page number runs throughout until you get to the end. For this exercise, I doubt anyone will have more than 2 pages, but make sure that that's listed there. The first thing that is listed is your name, then the instructor's name. I am not a doctor. I don't play one on TV. You're just going to write my last name and my first name and then my last name. The class number, as you can see, I have English L653. Yours is going to be simply ENG in all caps and then 111. And then the date. If you're using Microsoft Word, it typically defaults to the date that you're writing it. Well, that's not entirely correct. In MLA, you're going to date this for the date that it's due. In this case, that will be next Sunday. And notice we're writing this in either the military or the European style, whichever you like to call it, which is date first, then the month, then the year. So if I were completing this assignment, I would title this 25 January 2015. This is the format that all MLA papers start with. And then you have the title of whatever it is you're writing. I would include the title of the essay that you've read somewhere in here. And you could simply title it and the title is always centered. Indent all of your paragraphs, and all the work that you do should be written in Times New Roman as the font, 12-point type. Nothing larger, nothing smaller, nothing crazy. It's nice and vanilla. If you have questions about writing an MLA, I welcome them anytime. Again, send me a text at 812-498-4200. You can email me through Ivy Tech's website, mstenger, S-T-E-N-G-E-R, number 1 at Ivy Tech, or mstenger at MetLife, METLIFE.com. If you use my MetLife address, don't include the number 1 behind my name. That goes to somebody else in the company and they don't know who you are. Let's recap. In class sessions, Session 2, here's a list of what you'll be reading. I know it's a lot of reading. Do your best. Writing Project 1, steps 1 through 6. Your core readings. You don't have to read all of them. You're going to skim through them until you find one that you like. PowerPoint, I'll show you where that is in just a minute. On summarizing, describing, and responding. Plagiarism PowerPoint. And then supplemental resources. That's additional information in writing an MLA format if you've not done that before. Your assignments are completing the discussion about what your writing process looks like. You're not writing your original post. You would have already done that. You're simply responding with 100 words to 2 different individuals, so writing about 200 words total. Completing the plagiarism exercise and writing the first draft of writing project 1, which is about 600 words. Let's go to the Resources tab. Here is the resources for plagiarism. This is covered in the textbook, but here's also a PowerPoint you can look at. Click on that link, hit OK. Once it's downloaded, as I mentioned before, to make this full screen, simply hit F5. Now it's full screen, and I can navigate by using the space bar. If I want to go back, I use the backspace key, and I can flip through the screens and read them. I'm encouraging you to quote from the textbook, especially when you're summarizing. So you'll have an introductory sentence, and then include the title of the textbook along with the page number that you're referring to. Put that in quotes, and then at the end of the essay you're going to have one more page that says works cited, and this is how you will cite it. Author's name, title in italics, where it was published, the publisher's name, the year, and print if you're referring to a print textbook. Not going to go through the rest of the screens on the PowerPoint. You'll see that yourself. Here's an Ivy Tech brochure on plagiarism, a couple of articles about plagiarism, what it is and how to recognize it, also a tutorial that walks you through how to document. You may not need that for this session, but when we get to later sessions where you're going to be working with multiple sources, this may be helpful. And a couple of videos also about plagiarism. Excuse me, my voice is a little rough today. It's early this morning. And I hope the volume is a little better on this video than it was the last, and you can hear me a little better. Obviously, I need more coffee. And I think that looks like we've wrapped it up. As I've said before, the students that communicate with me the most absolutely do the best. I'm available nearly all the time. Text me, tweet at me, call me. If you want to use my voice number, it's 800-416-1747. Again, my text number is 812-498-4200. Feel free to use either of those anytime you want. I'll be posting an announcement with just a little bit with this video session, and I'll be sharing it with Mike Cooney so he can give it to his students as well. Good luck this week, everybody. Have a great week. I'll see you in class.